Wa tēnā rā koutou katoa whanau. Welcome to another TPTMT webinar, this time about the HMS Buffalo Project. My name is Monica. I am part of the TPTMT committee, and we're really glad that we can have you join us here today, either live or later on the record, and hopefully you will enjoy this session. No doubt you will be looking forward to hearing about the HMS Buffalo Project, but we're going to start with karakia first. Whakataka te hau ki te uru, whakataka te hau ki te tonga, kia mā kina kina ki uta, kia mā tara tara ki tai, e hi ake ana te atakura, he tio, he hoka, he hauhu, ti e Māori ora. Kia ora, thank you. Well, there is really not much else to say but to introduce the lovely Rebecca Cox at Wināuha Aspects. She is part of our Te Pūti Ake Manatanga committee, but on the website for Mercury Bay Museum, where she's the manager, there's a whole lot of things that Bex has done over time. She has worked with various organizations collaboratively, and in her role at the museum, she does all the jobs under the world that they could possibly be. So please feel free to check out the website and have a look at all the wonderful things Rebecca's done. But today she's here to talk to us about the HMS Buffalo Project. So I'm quickly going to slide over to the other slides, and Rebecca will start her presentation in just a moment. Kia ora. Anytime you're ready, Bex, you just tell me when to change the slide.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, Monica. So, kia ora, my name is Rebecca, although that's what my mother calls me, so you can call me Bex. I'm about to take you on my journey with a collection that has connections nationally and internationally, and a community that is at the centre of this significant history. Yeah, thanks. Okay, the HMS Buffalo was built in India in 1813 and was purchased by the Royal British Navy and repurposed several times as a transport, quarantine and immigrant ship, and a timber carrier that visited Aotearoa to take Cody spars back to the Admiralty. In July 1840, while visiting Mercury Bay, it was caught in what can only be described as hurricane-like conditions. And after moving off Cook's famous anchorage and heading towards the Whirianga River, it was pushed towards its final resting place on the beach that is now known as Buffalo Beach. And it's a beach with a wreck, not buffalo animals. The wreck is just 200 metres offshore and lying in a depth of approximately 2 to 3 metres at high tide. At low tide is between 1 and 1.5 metres. The site is quite dynamic, which means that the wreck is covered and uncovered of sand regularly due to the very frequent easterly swell and storms that create a sand shift in the bay. In 2018, I started here as manager of the Mercury Bay Museum. I didn't really know what was lying ahead, as I'm not from a museum background, but I was excited to learn and grow my knowledge as much as possible. A year later, I received an email from a student working on his PhD. The HMS Buffalo was one of the type of ships he was studying. He visited the museum and recorded and sampled the timbers that we held in our collection. This was my first time understanding what a maritime archaeologist is. And no, it's actually not Indiana Jones in a wetsuit. This visit not only started my journey with the HMS Buffalo, but it also inspired a young member of my family to go down the path to becoming an archaeologist. I'm trying my hardest to get her into maritime archaeology, but it's not working. So that's my daughter in the photos there. So that's Siobhan, who's also a budding artist as well. And that's Dr. Kurt Bennett, who is my colleague on the project actually now. Okay, yep. 2019 was a big year for our area. We were one of the 4 landing sites for Tuio 215, commemorating Captain Cook's visit of 1769. Yes, we do also have another famous ship in our history. Well, the new exhibition required for Tour 250, we had a shuffle around, and this meant a new space was created for the Buffalo. She reserved a space of her own finally, after being overshadowed by that other ship. We wanted to display her taonga, and so this meant we were able to use the opportunity to extensively record, photograph, and condition report our collection. This exhibition was only possible with donations and support from our community, who claim the buffalo as their own. Sorry, was that what you like? No, that's good. Sorry, Monica, can you show them the next slide?
Sorry, the next one or the previous one?
The next one. Sorry, I just, no, that all good. Oh, they're around the wrong way. Okay.
Okay, I bring us back to the other.
Just go back one. Just go back one. Sorry.
Yeah.
And I'll just read.
Oopsie. Sorry. Just
everybody who's watching this in advance.
Great. I'm just gonna bring us back to.
Oh, that's why, because you missed the slide. That one. Next one down.
That one.
Thank you.
Apologies, my mistake. There we go.
We'll get there. Okay, right. So I had already met Kurt, and then along came another archaeologist with a cardboard box full of objects from the local archaeological assessment. Matt Gainsford was his name, and I'm sorry to him in advance, well, because I was actually very short about receiving dirty bottles and bits at our museum. But that visit led to a conversation over coffee for the three of us and the creation of the Re-examination Project. With funding from the Australasian Institute of Maritime Archaeology Scholarship and the help of 12 volunteers and donations from our community, we were able to complete the only known full archaeological survey of the wreck. Lucky enough for us at this time, the wreck was sitting at least 1.5 metres proud of the sea floor and nearly void of sand. The project has now produced the only 3D image of the wreck, and that means that our community can now interact with the ship in a different way without getting wet. We have an outreach program which has been delivered to well over 500 students, and the project is still ongoing with future collaborations and events on the horizon. That one. It seems to be jumping. That one, yeah.
Apologies.
That's okay.
We're up to this one, and I will take more care.
Thank you. The HMS Buffalo is an intrinsic part of our community. We not only have the beach, which we all walk on, but a takeaway shop with the ship in full sail above the door, and a pizza named the HMS Buffalo at the local Irish pub. It is also an important part of daily life at our local area school with a house group named Buffalo. And no, my children weren't in Buffalo. They were in Mercury, which is another event that happens here in 1769. Our community members all have their own connections to the ship and always have stories to share, including the infamous tsunami event of the late 1960s and a bulldozer. I'm not going to say any more about the bulldozer. Okay, next slide. In 2022, yep, during ongoing easterly storms, the beach was severely impacted, and we had possible shipwreck timbers come ashore over a period of 2 weeks. Due to our community outreach and education, the community was well aware of the processes and contacted us whenever a piece was located. They learned how to record the GPS location, and if it was required, the piece was wrapped to be kept wet. We received approximately 12 timbers of varying lengths of up to 3 metres long. After discussion with Matt, Sarah and Kurt, they were housed in a temporary outdoor storage tank full with sea water, which you can see in the image here. They've now been recorded and 3D scanned by the project team, and a conservation report has been completed thanks to the funding from National Services to tighten them. They are now still in the tank minus the water, air drying, before we can possibly include them in our planned upgrade of the current exhibition. And I can say that one of those pieces of timber is actually coming inside for the exhibition now. We're always receiving calls about possible findings, and now our community, my team, and even myself are more tuned to what is now known as possible jiffy timber. That is a technical term from one of the archaeologists, and it's not unusual for me to find a piece of copper or timber at our front door on returning to work in Bennett. Yep. The international connection for the buffalo is not only with India, England, and Australia, where she delivered the first immigrants to South Australia, but also to Canada in a time of upheaval. The Canadian patriot, Francois Xavier Pierre, was on board the HMS Buffalo as he was exiled from his country to Australia. He wrote a journal and noted upon hearing of the wreck that he had wished to have a piece of the ship made into a cross, like a soldier would keep a piece of shrapnel from a wound. So, from a documentary that features the ship, the wreck, and the museum, her wish fulfilled some 185 years later. And next week. Actually 3 crosses were made from a piece of the timber and copper, and they are now travelling around Canada, telling the story of that horrible time and a ship at the centre of it. We were so lucky to have a descendant from that voyage living in Whitianga. Joseph Marceau was the only patriot that stayed in Australia. The Marceau family were with us to bless the crosses before their journey. Also, a great thanks to Bill Edwards from Northland Heritage New Zealand for bringing this wish to light, and the team that accomplished this greatly moving gift. These crosses are still travelling around Canada at this time. They have been all over the place. And if you look at the image, the large one on the left, that is actually to be presented to the museum where the jail was. That the convicts or the patriots travelled from. One is with us here in the museum, one of the smaller ones, so that keeps our link alive, and the other one was actually presented to their family. They've actually donated it to go to be travelling around Canada so that people are aware of the upheaval of what happened to their family member. Okay, yep. We've also collaborated with the New Zealand Navy through a project with searching points on the wrecking line. So the wrecking line is where the ship came in from off of Cook's anchorage and the way it moved towards the beach. So we know of the wrecking line. So thank you to HMS Makatawa and her crew who spent a week in Whitianga, and we are looking forward to doing future collaborations with them later this year. So that was a couple of the crew members there on a very sunny day, but don't be deceived, it was very choppy and rough. So yeah, they were a great team. Okay. Go that one. Yeah. Okay. Oh yes, and so now I'm actually a character in a book. It's a great children's book and resource for us to use in the museum to tell the story of the HMS Buffalo. And I think the illustrator kind of got it right there on the edge. It is a fantastic story and a great learning that goes with it as well. Yeah. But my heart is really with our outreach program. And the excitement you see in the students and the adults' faces when they learn about the HMS Buffalo, her history, and maritime archaeology. The skateboards and the VR experience really help, mind you. We deliver this program in the museum, at the beach, at school, or even the local library for New Zealand Archaeology Week. Anywhere really that we can tell people all about the ship, its history, and the continued learnings from the completed survey and artifacts that we have collected. So with the skateboards on the left there, so we set up a shipwreck for them on the floor, and they have dive gear on, so they've got gas bottles on their backs with their goggles and tape measures, and we've given them artifacts to look at on the floor, and they scoot around on skateboards, diving, and they have a certain amount of time to do it, otherwise they run out of air. So we have lost a few divers over the time. We also make it a little bit more difficult in that we take a set of goggles and we actually muddy them up. So because the visibility on the wreck is only about 10 to 15 centimetres in front of you. We make sure that they can't see what they're doing, which makes it even harder. But just the getting out there and not running the tape measure over, and they also have to record at the same time as well. So that's really cool. The child on the right there is using the VR headset, so he's interacting with the 3D models that we took off the timbers, so the timbers that we had come into the museum. We had them when the archaeologists looked at them, they 3D scanned them, so we have those available as a 3D image, so the kids are actually looking and spinning the timbers around. These timbers are anywhere between 3 meters long, and they're teeth, so they weigh a lot. So it's a way for them to interact with the timbers without us actually having to lift very heavy timbers. The photo at the bottom was on our day that we spent at the beach with the archaeologists, so they're actually digging through some sand. They're looking at the objects with their white gloves on as well. So they really enjoyed that. Okay, next slide. So I'm really proud to be a part of an award-winning project team. Although, to be honest, my team blow my trumpet more than I do. I just love doing what I do with no glory required. But we did win the Public Archaeology Award for the New Zealand Archaeological Association in 2022. And then we also went ahead and won the Australasian Society for Historical Archaeology Public Award in 2023. And we have also won the Australasian Institute of Maritime Archaeology Award at the conference last year. So we won that award. And we are in the process at the moment. We have been invited to present at the International Congress of Underwater Archaeology in Belgium later on this year. So we're heading to Belgium. We're heading to the international stage, and we're going to present in their community session, but also get to network with other archaeologists around the world as well. So that's really cool. I think that's it. Next one. Oh, yeah, so just all my thank yous to my team and the New Zealand Archaeological Association, the Australasian Society of Historical Archaeology, and the Australasian Institute of Maritime Archaeology as well. Also my amazing community and colleagues, and my family who have become HMS Buffalo Wizards as well. So that's really cool. Yeah. And last but not least, thank you to the HMS Buffalo, because she is the ship that continues to share the story and connect with us, her patriarchal guardians that now care for her, with a legacy that spans not only a community but a country and the world. So that is actually the buffalo from the air. So that is above, when it's about 3 times a year, it becomes clear like that. And you can see it from the air, which is really cool. And that bottom little image there is actually the 3D image, and you can see that on Sketchpad. So that's a 3D image that we come up with from the survey. We are about to do another dive, or I'm not, because I don't like the water, but the archaeologists are about to dive again next month because the wreck is actually uncovered again more than it was in that image, which was in 2021. So we've got a few more features that we get to kind of dive and examine. So we'll find a little bit more out about the buffalo in terms of her construction. So that will be really cool as well. And I think that's it. Very quick, sorry.
Thank you so much, Bex. I find it fascinating. I want to apologize to you and everybody who's been watching and will be watching that I didn't quite get those clicks right. I added a few links in the chat now. There is a link to the Sketchfab 3D models of the HMS Buffalo. You saw the student there with the VR headset looking at it. And I did make a comment in there that you can also visit Sketchfab on your laptop and look at the objects in Turnamara. It's not quite as cool as VR, but it is an option when you don't have VR. Also a link to the conference in Belgium. And please do go and check out, firstly, the website, secondly, the actual Mercury Bay Museum. I promise next time I get into the area, I will be at your doorstep together with the copper and anything else that has been left there for you to find in the mornings. You will find me. Now, Father, now's the time to go and ask some questions. You know, I always have a gazillion questions, so you can take the mic if you like, or type it up into in the chat. Either way is fine. But I'm going to start us off with one question that has been on my mind the whole time. Bex and I were talking about this. You know, we've got a really busy role. How do you even find the time?
I don't know. Yeah, I just find the time. I do find myself at night sitting there while I'm the only one awake, kind of making notes and moving through the programs that I have to create, because the Buffalo is only a very small part of my my role, really. So because I create, exhibition, run all the education programs, and just generally run the museum, really. So at the moment we are starting to work on the HMS Buffalo Re-examination exhibition. So it's going to be our first very technical exhibition, where it's full on projectors and animations in the space. So it will actually feel quite immersive. It'll be really cool as well. And those 3D images of the wreck and of the timbers will be on display for everybody to see. So not only just through VR, but they'll be able to manipulate them on the screen as well. So yeah, I probably do look a little bit stressed every now and then, and a little bit tired, but and then I kind of just get out there and do it because I just love what I do. So
it's just full credit to you and your team and the wonderful community you've got around you, both the professionals and the local community who has made this possible, including your family.
Yeah, and I think that's really important, is collaborating with the professionals around us. I know that the teachers from our local school have said that they love having the professionals come in and work with them as well, because it's another aspect to their learning. So I'm always collaborating and getting those kind of different speakers to come in and speak to the children, and especially the archaeologists. I think there's one photo where they were holding the fisheye camera, the camera they use underwater. So it's just for them to kind of get an understanding as well from that kind of aspect. So I really do love collaborating with everybody, and collaborating with the Navy. I mean, how cool is that?
And I have to say, your daughter, going off to study is such a beautiful example for us rural educators and parents. Our children might not see some of those roles unless we bring those experts to them in some shape or form. As my colleagues have always heard me say, you can't be what you can't see. And it's great that you make this opportunity for the teachers and the students particularly available, that they can bounce off those connections you're making and can also learn that. Now, Tara has just put a question in the chat. She's saying, amazing, Bex, full credit to you and the team. She's asking, what has been your highlight of this project so far?
With the Buffalo project, my highlight would be my learning. So it's interesting because I went to the Australasian Institute of Maritime Archaeology, AMA, conference last year, and I thought I'll sit through the conference, and some of it I'll understand, some of it I won't. But in actual fact, I really understood quite a lot, because I've actually been learning about the techniques, about the technology that they're using, their terminology that they use. So it's actually meant that my understanding has been lifted as well, and my learning. And that's what I love to do. I love to be constantly learning myself. And that way then, if I'm learning, then I can give it to other people to aid in their learning as well. So I'm constantly learning. Yeah.
Lynnie just put something up. Thank you for your presentation. I will be able to add the HMS Buffalo to my corridor here at Waitangi in connection with the convicts transport. Yes, that's an awesome point. We'll have lots of connection points. Well,
Waitangi actually has a real connection with the HMS Buffalo, because the HMS Buffalo transported the Lieutenant Governor Hobson's family out here when he was unwell. They actually called for his family to come, so his wife, children, servants, basically their whole household, came out with Major Bunbury on the Buffalo and went to the Bay of Islands and dropped them off to Hobson, who was really unwell at the time.
Wow.
They also brought the proposed New Zealand flag with them from Sydney on the Buffalo as well. So, but it was declined because there wasn't enough red in it. They also brought out Nias. I think Nias might have been on board with them as well, and then he carried on the next ship, which I can't think of right now, which then took the treaty on. So yeah, Buffalo actually has a real connection with the Bay of Islands, and our New Zealand story, absolutely.
Oh, fabulous. Now, I've been talking so much, asking questions. Who else would like to ask? Who else is going to ask a question? Please, Whanau, take the mic and ask ahead. Ask away.
Lynn, I can send you an HMS Buffalo book. If you give me your address, I can send you a book which has all the information in it.
Sorry, for some reason we can't hear you today, Lynnie. I can see you've unmuted yourself, but the sound isn't coming through. Sorry. The sound doesn't quite work right now, but I'm sure we will connect you with each other. That will be great. That will be wonderful. Anybody else has got any question? Marlene, who else can I still see in the car right now? Danny, Donna, anybody who would like to take the mic at this point?
Yeah.
That's all good. I will ask one more question. Oh, Danny, go.
Sorry, I was just going to ask a question around like the uptake in the program, this from primary to secondary. Like, have you been getting secondary interest in it as well? It's just something that we're talking about a lot at the moment as to how we.
Yeah. So I really struggle. We really struggle getting into anywhere over year 8. Partly probably because what I've done is with any of my programs that I deliver at our local schools, I spend, so here at our Mercury Bay area school, I spend a whole week with them. So I go into school or they come here and we just do the whole week, and it's just done. And they really appreciate that because then they can just focus on the week and get it done. And so, but normally anywhere over 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, I don't see them. However, I have just had a request for a year 11 geography class. So they've just suddenly kind of coming in and they're adding a local spin to one of their internals. So that's the very first time. There's a relatively new, okay, thanks, Lynn. She is a relatively new teacher. And what I would say is that the other history teachers and social science teachers have been there for a very long time. And sorry, I'm just writing down. Okay, cool. Thank you, Lynn. And so they don't really move from what they teach. So yeah, it's a little bit harder to kind of get into there. But hey, if we can get the whole of the junior school on happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
That's all right.
It is a common problem, Danny, that a lot of us have experienced, that there might be programs that are really frequented, primary, intermediate, you know, all the field trip campy kind of things
Yeah.
that are fitting in. I mean, as you know, I used to be at Waitangi for a long time, and Lynn can speak to this more. Well, her microphone wasn't working, but there is then the topic Te Tiriti or Waitangi that usually comes in at year 13, so that's where the seniors come in. But a lot of us seem to be missing that year 9, 10 cohort, and I know from practice in the high schools that it can be very hard to go out on field trips. But I wonder if we could have, you know, a conversation maybe on the Facebook group or somewhere where we could figure out some ways of how we can invite those teachers to see what's happening, so we get the new topics going and the new connections going, and also for all of us to learn what does it take to provide a really good year 9, 10 program if that's not something we are used to. Just
Yeah, that sounds really good. Yeah.
Now, Tara put another comment in there that I really want to highlight. It is a true demonstration of local community learning, local story, connections globally, and local learners, including all of the community. And that's such a cool example from your HMS Buffalo. It's not a museum that is just talking about things that are in a case and have been there for a long time. Now you've had the whole community involved in some shape or form. It's so great to see how the whole community is taking pride in it and is taking ownership in it as well. And that it goes back to something that Tara has talked a lot about, the learning. Oh, Tara, you might have to correct me. Learning cities, I think the concept is where everybody is learning with and from each other. And museums can be really at the center of this and helping make those connections, not being the only knowledge holder, but being one of many that connects with others.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really enjoy collaborating and working with our community on those sorts of projects. So yeah, it's been, and getting them involved so that if they do find something on the beach, they know exactly what to do with it. One lady tried to take it home and put it in a piece of timber in her garden as a garden ornament, but her child had been with me at school and said, no, Mum, you can't do that. It's not allowed. It's illegal, because we talk about the legality of having pieces. And they knew exactly what to do. They knew to wet it and to contact us and bring it into us. So they, you know, so that's kind of a really cool thing. And we are a small community as well, which does help. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And there's a few other things in the chat going on at the moment. Tara just confirmed learning cities so that museums are a key point of learning in communities and great support for schools. And you're right, the HMS Buffalo is a great example of that. And Lynnie also offered her contributions to ideas of, you know, how can we connect with our secondary school teachers as they are navigating histories and sometimes do the same thing really successfully, sometimes do different things, and sometimes, yeah, don't quite venture out of something that they've been teaching for a while.
Sorry, Monica, so just going back, because I just read Lynn's comment about the convicts, but so, yeah, the HMS Buffalo was used as a quarantine ship as well. So when we started kind of talking about that as well, the children who had just gone through COVID kind of all knew what quarantine meant. So they could kind of understand, you know, why the ship was used as basically an airing place for packages to go, for goods to go, and it was during the cholera pandemic. So, you know, so it's another kind of part of the story that they could link with as well. So have that connection with. So,
and there will be so many places around the country that have their connections, not just from, you know, our most recent pandemic, but, you know, looking at Matthew Island down, being was it a leprous colony, different places and different impacts. That's so cool.
Sorry, Monica, now you've
go.
Migration. So just that, because we, the South Australians are very clear that they were not convicts and they were like settling immigrants. And they're very clear on that. So that's kind of another part of it as well. So it's that general kind of migration, that movement of people as well. So that's another kind of part of the story. So we know what they were told to take with them on the Buffalo. So we can kind of talk about that as well. It's very general in terms of what they could take, but there's just, like I said, the Buffalo is just, it has links everywhere. So it's got those connections that we can talk to all the time. Yeah.
The top, the wreck that keeps on giving, all these different connections. Just in case anybody's wondering why I've been reading Tara's messages, she's been away, unwell, sick, and and didn't really want to come on the mic with a croaky voice. So I'm just relaying some of the messages from her. And feel free, any of you at any time when you're on the webinar and either can't unmute or there's another reason why you don't want to unmute, just feel free to use the chat if you don't mind me reading it out for you. Is there any final thoughts or questions from anyone? I always have more questions, as you know. Yeah, we are pleased that you did come. I'm so glad that you could come and join us. Can I ask you one last question, Bex? If you did it again, what, if anything, would you do differently?
That's a really good one. More funding.
Yeah.
I actually don't think I would change anything, because it's been one of those projects and one of those programs that just is growing and has a life of its own. So I don't actually think I could change it anyway. Like, I don't think we could do anything different. When you get approached by an author who says, by the way, I write children's book and I want to add, the Buffalo in because my family come to for the annual holiday every Christmas and they have this real affinity, and apparently you've got a shipwreck, So that was really cool. We were kind of a bit like, oh, really? She really wants to? And she did, and it was amazing. So, you just get those really random things that happen. Random people who turn up in the museum looking for their family member who was one of the women convicts on board, or one of the immigrants on board, or even people just who had no idea that the wreck was there. And so, we're able to kind of give people that knowledge to take away, which is great. Yeah. So no, I wouldn't change anything. I just keep growing and keep moving on. Yeah.
Great. And I think there will be few skateboards going through a few museums and galleries in the future.
It is really cool. It is really cool because we have a dive boat that they have to come into, so they have to come back onto the dive boat. So somebody has to go out. Even just making the bottles was a heap of fun, like and making them, and and they just have to lay down and go. Even the maritime archaeologists who were watching it were like, "Can we ever go?" We have to do a bit of a disclaimer though, because we actually didn't come up with the idea. We borrowed it from a South American but he gave us his blessing to use it. But since we've used it and promoted it, it's got more drive. But yeah, you could use it for any type of. I just love promoting archaeology as well. Archaeology is kind of my thing. So I always promote that science that's around, because our collections are archaeology. So why not use our collections and our stories to promote that side and teach people how to use that archaeology and that research to come up with the outcomes that we, all of that, or the telling a family member their history. So, that's what I love to do, and archaeology helps us do that. So yeah.
It's amazing. That's such a great note to end on. Thank you so much, Bex. Really appreciate it. Thank you everybody for coming along. I'm just quickly gonna give you a preview of what is coming next. Now, we will be back here in a month's time, on the 26th of June, with another webinar, which is titled Ngako, the Collection Talks, where we will speak with Sue Berman from the Auckland Libraries about her work on this project and how it allowed her to reveal collection items from the Auckland Council Libraries Heritage Collection. Any of you who are interested, you can grab the link now, or you can wait for the newsletter to come out. I'll also put it on the Facebook page, and there's even a QR code with a dinosaur on there talking about, archaeology. We might just throw the odd dinosaur bone in there. It has been a real pleasure having you here today, Bex. I really appreciate that you shared with us today on top of everything else you're doing and being on our committee. So thank you so much, and hopefully you and everybody else here today can make it to Sue's webinar in a month's time. If there is anything else that anybody would like to say, now is your opportunity. Otherwise, we'll finish a little bit early. I'll send you all home in this terrible weather before it gets too dark. And I'll finish us off with karakia. Kia hora te marino, kia whakapapapuna mu te moana. Hei huarahi ma tātou I te rangi nei. Aroha atu, aroha mai, tātou ia tātou katoa. O ye taike. Go well, stay safe, and we will all see you in a month's time. Hei konara.